700 Club. Negotiators in Vienna say they almost had a deal with Iran, and now they're not so sure. Disagreements could still derail the agreement. Once final details are hammered out, the agreement will be subject to review by the Senate.
And as Chris Mitchell reports, leaders in both Washington and Jerusalem are doubtful any plan will actually succeed.
The deal would, in theory, limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. After more than 2 weeks of intense talks and efforts that began more than a decade ago to curb Iran's enrichment of uranium, the world powers seem on the cusp of a breakthrough in Vienna. But here in Jerusalem, one Israeli analyst said the deal was possible only because the U.S. capitulated on almost every key issue of the negotiations. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned the concessions made by the six world powers in Vienna won't lead to peace, but will threaten world peace.
Concessions even on issues which were considered as crossing red lines in the Lausanne deal, which is a bad deal on its own. It paves Iran's way to many nuclear bombs and gives Iran hundreds of billions of dollars to its terror and occupation system. And so this agreement is putting at risk the peace of the world.
Despite the negotiations, in Tehran, Iran's supreme ruler Ayatollah Khamenei said Iran remains an enemy of the U.S. Their President Rouhani led a march where demonstrators burned U.S. and Israeli flags and called for death to America and death to Israel. Back in Washington, Democratic and Republican senators remain skeptical and said so on the Sunday talk shows.
We have gone from preventing Iran having a nuclear ability to managing it. And what we are doing is basically rolling back sanctions for not rolling back Iran's illicit nuclear infrastructure.
Well, look, we already know that it's going to leave Iran as a threshold nuclear state. We know that. It appears as if the administration's approach to this was to reach whatever agreement the Iranians are willing to enter into.
The Senate will have 60 days to review any deal sent by President Obama. Senator Tom Cotton remains one skeptic.
So I think whatever deal comes out of this weekend, it's going to be dangerous for the United States and dangerous for the world.
One danger many cite is the fear the deal will set off a nuclear arms race in the Middle East.
I think it will. I mean, leaders of a whole number of countries, also Saudi Arabia, also Turkey, have spoken, of the possibility or the likelihood of their need to explore their own options. Well, it'll be a much, much more dangerous and volatile region.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
It will be a more dangerous region if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. Just imagine a weaponized Middle East with all the various conflicts that have been going on there for decades. To see nuclear capability and the use of nuclear weapons would be horrific.